Good morning. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. I am Pastor Marianne Kellenbach, pastor at Living Faith Church, which is located in the community of tradition in Port St. Lucie, Florida. And today is Friday, January the 22nd. Shout out birthday greeting to Jacob. Happy birthday. Let's see, we've been focusing on the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. this entire week, and I'd like to continue with some of his writings and thinking about how that affects our lives today and how what he spoke about in 1967 in the book that he wrote, Where Do We Go From Here, is speaks so into our situation today. There's nothing, what is profound here is, yes, the remarks that have been pointed out by this amazing man, this prophet. Yet, at the same time, we understand how if we just can't get it right and set our priorities right, this will continue to happen again and again and again for generations. This was written over 2.5 generations ago. So, and we'll say that as we think of a generation being 20 years. So listen to these words. Every man, every person, every human being, every woman lives in two realms, the internal and the external. The internal is the realm of spiritual ends expressed in art, literature, morals, and religion. The external is that complex of devices, techniques, mechanism, and instrumentalities by means of which we live. Our problem today is that we have allowed the internal to become lost to the external. We have allowed the means by which we live to outdistance the ends for which we live. So much of modern life can be summarized in that suggestive phrase of Thoreau: improved means to an unimproved end. This is the serious predicament, the deep and haunting problem confronting modern man, modern humans. Enlarged material powers spell enlarged peril if there is not proportionate growth of the soul. When the external of man's nature subjugates the internal, dark storm clouds begin to form. I think of the two realms we talk about. He talks about the internal and the external. Martin Luther talked about, the two realms, the spiritual and the physical, the world in which we live. I think that Martin Luther King Jr. here is saying the exact same thing, but in a different way. And it's when that external overtakes the internal. When the external, the world as the world is, begins to overtake our spiritual selves, our true beings, who we are as creatures, being given life by our Creator. Well, when that external takes over the internal, we get our priorities totally out of whack. Totally out of whack. And the storm clouds do in fact form. And the storm can take over. But you see, the spiritual side has the final say in all of this. You know, when I was younger, my goal was to make sure that I could always be self-sufficient, that I could always take care of myself. Now, I'm not saying that's not a bad goal. It was an important goal. But then I got caught up in that. I got very caught up in that. And it became about getting more and more and more things, thinking that that was going to make me happy. And I got so caught up in it at times that I put my family second instead of putting them first. What I have learned is And this has come about in my understanding who my Creator is. God incarnate in Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit opening up my heart that I could understand that through the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, I don't need to worry about those things. Yes, I have to live in this world, but this world doesn't define who it is that I am. And as soon as I understood that I have been set free once and for all time, then I could begin to live into this new life that I had been given, this renewal, this rebirth, this new age, as I would call it. Not the age of focusing on what the world says is important, but the age in which I understand that as a child of God, I have been freed from my sinful self. I have been given grace no matter what it is that I do. And so my sole focus now is not to amass and to accumulate. And that doesn't mean that I don't enjoy life, but I don't define who I am by the things that I have. And instead, anything that I am able to accumulate, I accumulate for the purpose of either enjoyment or mostly for giving away. I take what I need and I leave the rest. Give it away to others. I think that is exactly what Martin Luther King Jr. had said in 1967. Let's not forget our internal, our spiritual, who we are first and foremost. We are children of the Most High God, who has created us, who sustains us, who redeems us. That is who we are. And our purpose and the meaning of our life should be grounded and rooted in that and that alone. And so let's move forward knowing who we are on this day. Do not let the outside define you. Instead, allow our creative God to give you your purpose and your meaning. I'll see you here tomorrow.